Speaking of which, let's jump into game number 1's pick and ban.
Gen.G versus MVP. Gen.G's last game of the regular season. All 10 teams will be winding down this week. Gen.G will be the first, and we will have Hanwha Live playing their last match in our second series today. Look at the bans. MVP actually banned Ezreal, which you understand Ezreal banned against Ruler, but actually Ezreal priority has been way lower in recent memory. Ruler seems to prefer the Ashe over the Ezreal, and I see why you're being a bit surprised, because neither Taliyah nor the Aatrox were banned in the first two. Teams starting to play Aatrox Chicken and Taliyah Chicken, but
well.
The thing is, if you ban two, Gen.G are the least likely champion, least likely team to have prepared both Aatrox and Taliyah. They are a bit inflexible. So if you're going to play with Chicken with anyone, Gen.G is probably a pretty good one to do so.
Yeah, I like the idea. Pilot had a wry smile on as this was all happening. So MVP, we talk about how you have to do something weird and wonderful to try to catch them off guard. And speaking of which, is Yondu thinking about returning to the Rek'Sai? I'd be surprised to see it picked this early on in the draft.
But it definitely could come up. Rek'Sai is by far Yondu's signature champion, I would say, in his tenure in Champions, now 2 years in the LCK. So I think it's worth considering. Kai'Sa priority been sky high in recent memory, and also Kai'Sa into Gen.G for their lack of truly punishing, with Ambition much more likely to auto-attack a turret than actually pull off a big gank in lane. Will Gen.G just fall back on Ashe Tahm Kench, which they play almost every time, or will they actually try to punish the Kai'Sa even more strongly?
Ambition not usually one to hover the weird stuff. Looks like he's having a little bit of fun today, but speaking of sticking to the standard roles here, Gen.G gonna go with Ashe and Tahm Kench. Wanna try to dominate that lane, as well as Ashe has just been going up in priority recently. Very good AD carry.
I think it also babies their early game, because Ambition sometimes isn't ganking or invading for vision, so he's just farming. And the Hawk Shot gives you a lot more information about pathing, so I think it helps out their jungler, but it also just squares up their early game. The map hacks are very helpful. For the side of Gen.G, who we well know want to play slow and steady at every moment, the Zoe going to be just blind picked by Fly in the first round. Ian has played plenty of Galio, could respond with that instantly, but there's a lot of different picks being taken into the Zoe. The new norm is the Orianna, and will be no surprise to be locked in by MVP.
Yeah, I kind of miss Galio. I know Twitch chat is not the biggest fan of the Borio, I guess some people will call him, but the Boreana comes in instead. Orianna, very fun to watch, very fun to cast, so not sure about that Twitch chat, but yeah, it's pretty standard nowadays, and let's see what they decide to ban here in the second round. We're going to see Camille taken away as well.
Gotta say though, if this was, let's say it was Gen.G on the blue side and Griffin on the red side, you'd be looking at the red side and be like, man, that's gonna be a really safe Kai'Sa in the late game, got the utility coming through from the Orianna. Definitely a game where Pilot hard carries this, but the draft right now is ultra standard in the first round. Where we see any digression from the previous meta, will it just be Cho'Gath versus Gnar in the top lane, or will it be ultra standard? I think Gen.G will take ultra standard. But potentially, if MVP can just get through the early game, if a team fight decides this, there's definitely a team fight where Kai'Sa wins out.
Look at that second ban for MVP, the Olaf coming through. Definitely something we could have seen in scrims if you are running a lot of Orianna and Kai'Sa, people that don't want to be ran at directly, and the Alistar not able to help if he's ulting. So I like the idea.
It's also very suspicious for Ambition not to lock in Sejuani in the first round. The fact that it's a second round jungler from Ambition does kind of tell you, wait, is he going to actually show us something new? Now, with the Olaf banned away, we'll never know. The Gragas would be ultra standard. Gragas being preferred into Trundle recently. Outside of other picks, this time it's going to be into the Skarner. And Cuvée, the only question mark is, will he use his skin today, or will he stay away from it?
I'd put my money on he'll probably use it. That's my guess tonight.
I'm going to say he doesn't, because
Okay.
It didn't last time, and it was very obvious. So I would love to see him bring it out. We still haven't had Gen.G use a Samsung Galaxy skin. Can this draft get any more standard? The answer is no.
This is just the way things have been, guys. If you've been missing the LCK, you could just tune into this game and say, well, this is exactly what's happening in the majority of our games. Gnar versus Kennen in the top lane. We'll see if ADD, MVP has always been a team that has kind of moved and done well on whether their top laner is doing well. The Kennen nowadays into the Gnar. It's been a good pick. We'll see if ADD can put the team on his back and actually carry.
And MVP could have multiple priority lanes and then just a free farm lane for Kai'Sa, so you have to like a lot of what they put together. But Gen G have pretty oppressive siege. If they can get out of lane first, Abyssal Voyage, Ashe and Zoe patrolling the mid lane, and Gnar has increasingly done well in the Kennen matchup. It has shifted a little bit back. The Kennen's had some good games recently, but Gnar can also persist through. So a lot of this game, to me, the only unknown variables given the standard draft is how can Yondu and Ambition hit the Rift as junglers and make something happen. If Yondu or Ambition start rolling, it feels very straightforward that the pieces will fall into place for either Gen G or MVP.
Yeah, we mentioned it before in terms of stats. MVP has been, for the past couple of splits, they've been able to take one best-of-3 up against Gen G. Gen G won the first best-of-3 we had here in summer, 2-0. Will MVP come back and strike into the hearts of Gen G fans and kind of ruin their position in the playoffs? Because all those easy matches for the top teams, if you're losing a game, even one, you're not going to be too happy going into playoffs.
Let's get it rolling, Brendan. I want to see some fun times on the Rift. While the picks may be standard, it's MVP. Anything is possible.
Definitely is. The countdown has started, guys, and we're ready to jump into game number 1. So let's do that right now. Gen G up against MVP onto the Rift.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지 30초
The MVP fans, if you guys are new to LCK, they are one of the biggest fan groups. Well, I would say the most vocal, maybe not in biggest in terms of size, but definitely a lot of fans for this team. They get very loud here, so if MVP starts winning, prepare yourselves.
I'm prepared for something a bit different this game. I know it could be a really fun one, even though the picks are standard. Cuvée has actually gone for Summoner Airy on the Gnar. He's against AD Kennen, so get that confirmation on the top side. We haven't seen if he's running his Samsung Galaxy skin or not. I'm thinking he's not, just because he didn't last time. When it comes to summoners in the bot side, both Ruler and Pilot have dropped the teleport, so seeing a shift away from as many teleports as previously. We only have 2. It is heal versus cleanse among the AD carries.
I don't know why, but in the bottom lane and the mid lane, already Gen G is getting the lead in terms of just poking the players out. Feels like a bit of a bad omen, especially because the bottom lane is going to be really hard for the Kai'Sa Alistar to deal with this Ashe specifically. Any weird runes you see here?
Not really, just looking through Time Warp Tonic onto the Zoe, but we don't have Ryze to talk about the abuse cases there. Ryze actually fell through picks and bans. Doesn't happen too often in the recent memory. A lot of teams have very high Ryze priority at the moment. We will definitely see that in our second series of the day if it doesn't show up here. But Gen G do play 4 champions each at any one moment, so for now, Cuvée is their Ryze player. Cuvée not jumping on the Ryze. Seeing lane control in bot side early. That was the one that we knew would be happy times for Ruler and Core JJ. Let's see how Ian and AD do with a little bit more time. I want to say AD and do. With a little more time, because the trades get better and better for the AD Cannon and also Ian on the Orianna when the items start rolling in.
Yeah. Bit of a weird path here from Ambition on the Gragas. He totally skipped the red buff. He actually just went straight from Raptors up to the top scuttle. I guess well, the bottom scuttle was taken by the bot lane, actually. Yep. It looks like that was taken by Ruler. So both scuttles taken by Gen G, but also the weird path from Ambition. Maybe he wants to put that red buff to use a little bit later, perhaps even into the bot lane.
Tahm Kench able to get that big burst with the Devour. Means that you can do it pretty fast on the bottom side. So quick push into Scuttle does remove some early gold from the first clear from Yondu. Not going to really affect his level 6 too much. Maybe 15 seconds shaved off that timer. Trade's going to be very nice for Ruler at the moment. So things very comfortable. It is Unsealed Spellbook from Core JJ, so the double smite potential definitely there later into the game.
So, Cuvée didn't use his world skin. Does someone have to tell him that we're on 8-14? Because I don't get why you wouldn't use it if you have it, but I'm going to hold that thought as the Skarner's coming in. They want to get onto Ruler here. Good engage to start it off. The Devour's going to come in, but already the Ignite onto Core JJ. Grey Held comes through, but it's not enough damage from MVP. They only get the flash out of Core JJ and the heal out of Ruler in trade for the Ignites. And even Zoe going to come down and give a sliver of health over to the Tahm Kench.
I had no analysis other than to annoying grunt at the redemption there. A little bit of lane sustain from the mid laner. Thank you very much, Zoe, for that one. Nice gank from MVP. I think they played it perfectly. The focus onto the Tahm Kench, obviously the only real option you have in a Tahm Kench lane. They get a flash out of it, a heal from Ruler. All in all, pretty big success, even if no kill is actually registered.
Yeah, not half bad. Reduces some of the pressure that was in that lane as well. Gives pretty good back timing to Pilot Max. So they can go ahead and do that. We're taking a look at the top lane. It's been pretty even so far. ADD is, of course, going to be going for that press the attack AD on hit cannon in the top side.
See what his role is. The game goes on because AD cannons have been splitting lane against Gnar and not being able to split push into them too reliably recently. And then you look at the rest of MVP and they want a team fight. They don't have the best siege ever. They're very much about empowering Pilot to hard carry. So you do worry that if ADD can't win lane straight up, which to his credit he did when he came back from his collapsed lung. He had a great game on the AD cannon. So very real chance he's able to actually make the side lane work. But if he doesn't, he is going to stick out a little bit in this mostly team fight draft from MVP.
I like what he did just there. He actually faked putting down a ward. I like to do that in solo queue because it really messes with your opponents. Now they think there's a ward in the top lane when there actually isn't. He can save his ward for a little bit later and be a bit safer up in the top side. It's a pretty cool little thing you can do.
I'm going to keep a tab of the early game redemptions. We're at 2 on screen. There could have been a third one for the Zoe. Hard to know. This is the one where I feel like I need to submit to Riot Games the percentage of times it's a redemption.
By the way, we had 7 redemptions in this game.
In the laning phase.
Yeah. Well, ADD in a bit of trouble is going to have to flash away from that one. Good timing to make sure that he did survive. Ambition came top and actually control warded that top brush because they thought the ward was there. And will help Cuvée survive for a bit, but also interesting placement on that one.
Feel good about the trade if you are the Gnar, though. Anything to dissuade ADD overextending for either harass on the Gnar or harass on the turret is good news. For Gnar, it does mean increasingly they're going to farm it out in the top side, so that's a definitely a happy takeaway if you're going to do a 1-for-1 trade. Not all flashes are worth the same. We know all about the flash on Skarner versus the flash on a more defensive jungler, so pick champions really do prize their summoners, for example. This one, a pretty high-value one for Cuvée to deny away.
And outside of that one gank that we had down on the bottom side, both the junglers, I suppose Ambition showed his face in the top side, but it's been mostly just about farming outside of that. MVP Yondu was able to pick up the top side scuttle when that spawned, so he's not being totally shut out so far in the scuttle counter.
We do have our scuttle counter at the top of the screen. Last day for the regular season, where we get the visual information, 2-1 right now for the start. Of course, not both of those picked up by Ambition. Like you mentioned, it was the bot lane that picked up one of the scuttle crabs for Gen G, so not as much of the golden experience loaded onto the fat man in the jungle.
Yeah. Level 6 hit here by both the junglers too, especially Yondu with the Predator, Skarner, and Impale, and already has his boots. So I'm wondering which lane is he going to try to gank first. Try to look to the mid lane, but Fly is going back. Looks like maybe he'll go to the top side, but already a couple of wards, control wards, are put down that are going to spot this Skarner.
To answer your earlier question about the Gnar, Cuvée does strike me as a pretty humble guy. He did say buy my skin in a interview, but maybe just trying to be humble, not using his own skin. I think if we do see Xayah Rakan 100% Ruler on Core JJ, we'll pull out the Samsung Galaxy skins, but Not seeing it here for QV is disappointing, but this seems to be his decision 2 games in a row.
Now, they know that the Skarner is up on the top side. We'll see what QV can do to try to get away from this, but actually they're not going to go for the dive as no push can come in. QV puts down a ward and even going to stop it there, and now he made the Skarner angry. They're in a bit of trouble here, but nice pummel into the wall, trying to get to that blasting plant. Just going to try to flash over, but it's not going to be enough. First blood does go over to Ian.
Bit of a curious decision to walk up an auto attack. Could have just tried to keep himself safe there, so not sure about giving your life up there, QV. It is in service of an Infernal, so it is 1 kill for an Infernal Drake. Overall, Fly pushes in mid lane. Gonna lose a bit of CS on Orianna. Curious one by our World Championship top laner.
Yeah, you know, he wasn't delaying the back to make sure they can get the Infernal. They were already going to get the Infernal. It's interesting, maybe he wanted them to waste time in the top side because it all feels pretty good.
So the Hawk Shot isn't coming through. It's over mid lane for now. Hawk Shot comes through. They're, of course, already on a ward. Maybe he thinks it's only Yondu and he just wants to interrupt his back, but yeah, it was peculiar. Didn't have flash. Wouldn't have got him out, most likely anyway, but didn't have the flash to use it. Ian says, thank you very much for the first blood. That does mean Orianna a little bit closer to that first item loot.
Yeah, in the end of the day, it is going to be double flash blown by Yondu and Ian. They pick up the first blood, but on the other side of the map, you know, they get the Infernal Drake, and Fly gets a massive amount of damage into the mid lane turret. So not all that bad for Gen G. Certainly a positive result for Ian. We'll see if he can have a big game on the Orianna. I don't really feel like we've seen too many Oriannas pop off. I feel like teams here in the LCK specifically have gotten really good at avoiding big shockwaves and not dying to them.
And that's why I'm not a fan of, if you remember what Griffin were doing, the Yasuo Orianna Wombo combo. And I think the Wombo part has been figured out a little bit. In Korea, teams are more likely to start a step back than start a step forward. So maybe Orianna works better in a bloodthirsty region like Vietnam or the LPL. But what it is working on is with a Kai'Sa, giving her a shield and movement speed and being a secondary carry rather than a primary carry on the Orianna. So I still think it's a very viable pick. I think teams haven't really messed around with bot lane Orianna as much as you can get away with. There's a lot of matchups where you can definitely get away with it. Speaking of getting away with, Gen G trying to punish this low health turret, but the defense is here from MVP.
Defense is here, but it's not going to be enough as Ruler and Fly just move up. They split the gold 50-50. Say we can get away with this. The bottom lane not able to push in too fast. Ruler should get back down there and continue the dominance. And overall, just a really good start here for Gen G. Looking now to gank the top side, but ADD is a fast little rat, is able to get out of that one.
That was a very ambition gank moment. In the top side, good try, mate. Don't worry about it. Still able to pick up the neutrals where they want. Back away, no flashes used, never mind. Ambition to say, I'll find a better time.
Yeah.
Fun stat, I did a poll with the Twitterverse, and I also got some of the people from chat to talk about this. Of course, the regular season decided over the next 3 days, so 3,004 people voted on if it will be KT Kingzone, Griffin, and Gen G. We are at the point right now where all 4 teams are set up to reach around 13 match wins. KT's played the least series, so they're on 11. The lowest vote actually was for Gen G, and in the regular season, I think that's correct. They hold the least cards because they have the worst game score right now. But reaching 13 match wins and being able to put your feet up and watch does also give you the chance of there being a lot of upsets around you. We'll see how Gen G look today. Never do the best on those fan votes.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty strong in general, but again, everybody at the top is pretty ridiculously big. Yondu's in the bottom side, but they see him for just a split second, and the immediate Devour comes in. Also, Ambition had already started this Rift Herald. We talked about the lowest amount of Rift Herald stat is actually MVP in LCK.
1 and 3.
Looks like, well, Ambition is going to make that even worse.
Good response here from Ambition. Ganking top lane again, not worth it. Flash still up onto ADD, so makes sense to get a answering objective. Very much what we see in Korea. Less people piling in for the 4v4 bot side and just getting the free objective top side. Also, the quintessential Gen G way to play the game. If you're talking about scaling, again, we've said, wow, isn't it going to be big when Kai'Sa has 2.5 items and Orianna has some AP? Yes. But the counterpoint is, at 1 to 2 items, Gen G have a lot of power, a lot of siege, and a lot of reliability in what they want to do. Zoe and Ashe walk up under a turret, Tahm Kench is there to devour. They can cut between turrets very quickly with the Abyssal Voyage, and it's not a TP Fiesta comp from MVP, it's double cleanse and ignite being run by Max. So given all of that, really, if Gen G are slow and steady until 1.5 items, they now have Ludens and Blade the Ruin King. This is the point in the game where Gen G, with their reliable team comp, can actually turn it on before MVP, have enough items on their Kai'Sa to truly force a fight.
And already with the fast early game that they've been able to go on in terms of objectives. Of course, no kills just yet for Gen G. Maybe they can begin to turn this on even faster. Infernal Drake was taken. The Mountain is next. For JJ already beginning to clear out some of the vision up there. But yeah, still gonna wait for that one. Ruler has just been dominating down in the bottom side alongside Core JJ, and Yondu once again wants to put a stop to that. We'll see if that works out. Hawkshot's gonna be used, so he's gonna have to wait a little bit before he goes down.
Longer you can lane as the Kai'Sa Alistar, better you feel. It's Aftershock, Ignite, Alistar, and just a cleanse onto Pilot, and that's why Ambition taking the Rift Herald is the only reliable way to actually take this turret. It's too early for people to go behind the turret against the Skarner and face the suppression. So get the turret about bang on 15 minutes here, and this is now, with 2 turrets down, a Hawk Shot, the Ashe Arrow, this is where really, as Gen G, you can blow open the game and grow the sort of gold lead that Kai'Sa can't just safely farm around.
Yeah, and we, another stat that we saw was the gold difference at 15. MVPs just got a little bit worse after being 10th place as they're down nearly 2,000 gold here. That's even lower than their average, so having a really rough time, and it also speaks to Gen G that they're able to get this big of a gold lead without getting a single kill. It definitely feels like a very, it's very suitable for both of these teams, what's going on in game number 1.
I think when Gen G play a bottom 5 team, they are the Monte Cristo dream, the winner game with no kills. That's just how they play. It's only when they get found out, they have tendencies because they just play the same style so much that when they get found out in big matches, that's where, the luster falls away from the very square team that can do the same thing again and again. But in a match like this, when Gen G had the schedule they did, you just knew that 2-0-2-0 was a very easy prediction. MVP can still turn this around. If Gen G make an execution mistake, which they do from time to time, there is a way for Kai'Sa to take over the game, but until the items read QSS and also that Rage Blade, it's not going to happen.
And, well, another turret nearly taken out here by Gen G. It's been just more and more domination. I said it when we first got into the cast that if you wanted to see really clean early game League of Legends, go ahead and watch Gen G. They're going to do exactly this. So far, Ruler just totally safe. They gave away the Tahm Kench, which I was really surprised about. When you go back to the bans, they banned away Ezreal, Trundle, and Aatrox. Forced a Taliyah ban out of Gen G, but why not just ban the Tahm Kench instead of Ezreal?
If you want the likely reasoning, it's can we get away with a Kai'Sa lane into Tahm Kench X? Probably. Will we get punished for running Kai'Sa in the 2v2s by any champion Ruler chooses, Varus, Ashe, Ezreal? Probably not. So at the end of the day, it allows you to basically plug and play that you'll get Kai'Sa to 2 items before the game ends. Now, will you be in touching distance? Maybe not. In this game, it's looking like it might blow out if another turret goes down and Gen G make one more good move. But if you can guarantee as a 9th, 8th, 10th place team like MVP that the Kai'Sa's going to get out of lane and Pilot, pretty much your best player, is going to be relevant in the game, I think you take it. So I think this is just pretty good scouting by MVP, even if the result right now is an 1,800 gold lead to Gen G.
Yeah, Gen G will have to eventually end this game before it gets to the ridiculous Kai'Sa level, 40 minutes where she's popping off on 4 items. Then it's going to be a bit of a problem where she can just show up behind Ashe and all of a sudden you take out Ruler and then, well, they don't have an AD carry and all of a sudden you're winning the game.
Like, do you do this against Deft Martyr? Probably not. But against Gen G, who are a bit more glacial pace in the bot lane, you can take those sort of liberties and if I've ever had a criticism for Gen G, Samsung Galaxy, KSV, it's kind of always been the same of they will always make the safest choice at basically every time. And while that sounds like the right way to play, I think controlled aggression beats out on no-risk play so much more often. If you don't take 70-30s because 30% of the time you lose, then I think eventually you are punished by scaling and the fact that items and patches changes. A lot of damage on Ruler, he might die.
Oh man, he takes that tower shot, but he is going to live in the end. Has to blow his flash and his heal.
Yeah, that's an oopsie from Ruler right there. That's the sort of mistake. They got a double heal actually. Fly also had to use heal. All right.
Thought he had his catfish behind him. He was wrong.
It felt like Gen G was sleepwalking through a scrim for 19 minutes, but then they get caught, and that will buy a lot of time for Kai'Sa and Orianna, because whatever map play you're making did not involve a no-summoner Ruler being in the frame.
Yeah, and we talked about the early game, you know, was everything that MVP gave up worth it to get the 1 kill on the Orianna? Well, she's already looking at nearly 2 items with that first blood that she got, so she has the maximum amount of gold on her team right now. So someone needs to help with the mid game while Kai'Sa's still scaling, and a very high level and fed Orianna will definitely help to do that.
And honestly, the playbook for Gen G right now gets a bit more situational, right? Because how many teams this season have got 3 out of turrets and been like, how do we get the hard turrets? How do we get the base? It's much trickier. They don't have a Rift Herald. They're trying to rotate here, so this is a nice rotational play. Can they kill the turret and turn it into a Baron play? Let's wait and see. It's a lot of damage.
It also just feels like MVP are just playing. You were talking about sleepwalking through a scrim. It kind of feels like they're doing the same. They've been lulled into hypnosis right now by Gen G as Yondu shows up 30 seconds later as their bottom turret nearly goes down for free, as no one was there.
This is a good place so far because Core JJ can always teleport Ruler into the mid lane with the Abyssal Voyage. I like the setup. I say, here we
Ruler,
go.
Though, he doesn't have his summoners. It's going to be dove upon here by ADD, but down he will go nearly instantly. Juve and Ruler more than enough damage to take him out, and now the rest of MVP. Nice little shockwave there, but it's not going to be enough to take anyone out. Juve will just tank it up, and Gen G pick up 2 kills.
Pilot not strong enough to actually engage on any of this Killer Instinct Flash. Cleanse up on Pilot, but ADD died for free, and there's nowhere he can go. Max had no options either. I think ADD was just off the track with the rest of his team. We talked about AD Kennen in team fights. Always going to be a bit of a struggle, and now it might just be 2 extra turrets to Gen G.
Oh, that's a really bad feeling. You know, it looks good, but I almost feel like ADD forgot there was a Tom Kench in the game, because you get that good engage onto Ruler, you're feeling good, but then all of a sudden, where does all that damage go?
Well, you have so many points in your Devour by now, the duration goes up, you can stay in the belly, and Ruler says,
Exhaust
a little bit longer, a little bit longer. Oh, I'm fine now. Comes out, yeah, between Exhaust and everything else. Gen G can fight front to back, Ruler does damage, the enemy AD carry does not. Just really poor execution by MVP. And now, all their good work, losing the minimum quite slowly, has actually been taken to a different level, and now suddenly we're at a point where there's still no Rage Blade on Pilot, and the game might be over.
Definitely feels that way. I mean, we're here at 22 minutes and already a 4,000 gold lead for Gen G. All the objectives as well. Not a single turret taken out here by MVP. When are they going to get something going? Are they just going to lay down until 40 minutes? I don't think they have the rope to do that anymore.
That was what they were, you know, they were looking for 28 minutes to turn on and actually fight. Now they still don't have Rage Blade at 22 minutes. Now maybe the only way they win is to wait till 40. So they've kind of condemned themselves to always be super, super defensive. It is MVP. They could go for a Rambo Baron try. That is something they've done in the past, but if you make a mistake like that and you have to wind back the clock from 28 to 35 to 40, you probably just lose, is the reality here. So MVP have made a really big mistake, and unless Gen G throw it back to them, I'll be impressed to see MVP find another positive moment in the game.
Well, let's see what Pilot goes back and picks up. Okay, he will get the Rage Blade. Still no QSS just yet, but at least he does have those 2 items. We'll see if he can actually get into a position to do damage in the next fight. But for Gen G, It's like you're following a to-do list. First, we're going to go to the bottom lane, take out that inner turret. Then we got a couple of kills. I guess we can take the mid one. And now let's buy some items and then go to the top lane. They definitely still feel very confident that MVP can't really fight up against them.
Good item spikes across Gen G, no risk on these poke plays. We talked about Zoe and Ashe in Champion Select. They do things like this where someone will have to kite back, someone will have to eat a trouble bubble and feel bad about it. And at the same time, Cuvée building up his Mega Gnar on the bottom side. And all ADD can do with 1.5 item on hit cannon is just try to push.
Seeds here pretty decent for Gen G, especially in the safety. Cask is going to come through and an arrow to the face of Ian, which doesn't really do much. Kind of a uncoordinated engage there. At the end of the day, it's going to get a couple of members down to about half health. So they'll just take the jungle, continue pushing in the top side. Gen G not really too worried about that engage.
Teamfight build coming through from Cuvée. He has a Randuin's already. For more reliability in the Mega Gnar play, you at least have an AoE slow to back it up. Gonna lose the bot lane turret from this, but Gen G perfectly happy to make it a 6-turret game for them. Turret goes down, map is super long. Seeing Cuvée actually chase on to ADD.
He's up a level here, looking to build up that Mega Gnar, not able to do so just yet, but ADD did his job. You were talking about 1.5 items cannon, just trying to go on in. But Cuvée here, he's going to get the slow, forces that slicing Maelstrom to come out, and all of a sudden Cuvée having a second of unsureness there. Not sure what the word is there.
A lack of certainty is what he was showing for sure.
Decides to turn it around and not go for the engage.
He seemed really cocksure at the start. He seemed like he was like, all right, I'm going in, I can take this guy. And then he was like, wait, maybe this hurts more than it looks like. The Wit's End wasn't done at the time. The damage threat of just a bit of attack speed and a Blade of the Rune King wasn't going to be enough. He pulls away, doesn't pull the trigger on it. But MVP have tried not to pull the trigger multiple times this game, and now it's a Baron game, and they don't have many turrets to find any information about what to do.
Yep, the best they can do is ping. They'll ping the Baron. They'll say, well, this is a threat now. But unless we can have that magnificent shockwave out of Ian, I feel like he's definitely the guy to try to pull through this mid-game. Look at Pilot here, trying to help out in the bottom side.
He just wants to use Killer Instinct once time in the game. He hasn't used Killer Instinct yet.
Can I play my champion, please?
We have seen good shockwaves, so for once the Orianna isn't the person who's not pressing ultimate.
Yeah.
But you look at that shockwave and then you look at the side of Gen G and you say, who exactly is it going to ravage in a team fight? Because Hexdrinker is there for the Ashe. Zoe, I guess, is the only person susceptible to it. So does feel like the no damage shockwave is on the way, even though Ian has been probably the best performer on the side of MVP.
Yeah. Well, Banshee's Veil also finished up for Zoe, so even if she does get broken through the Banshee Veil, she's not going to take all that much damage. And even low mana right now. The entire red side jungle of MVP is controlled by Gen G. They've just annexed it for themselves right now. And MVP kind of just have to lay down and take it. As always, wondering when Gen G, we're talking about not taking risks. They definitely feel like a team that will wait until they get a pick before they start the Baron.
Map is so long. They're ahead of their usual timers. CourtAJ trying to fake the Baron play. That was really interesting.
Okay.
That was a bit like the play that Humble Life made, but he was in vision, so it didn't work. I like the idea.
Oh, nice Cask here. Max is going to get low. They force him to blow his ultimate as well. Ambition moving forward, but look at how tanky he is right now. Stone played up and say, I just do not take damage.
To explain to the fans, the sound from the ultimate is global, so he wanted to fake that he was going in with Ruler into the Baron pit and starting the Baron, but there's vision already for MVP on his spot, so they saw him doing it, and thus he couldn't fake it like Humble Life did previously.
Trying to land a trouble bubble here, and Cuvée perhaps to come from behind, but all the while, the Baron is slowly being two-manned here by Ambition and Ruler. The rest of them just zoning them out. It doesn't look like MVP know about it, but they do want to engage here onto Cuvée. Mega Gnar going to come through. Arrow is going to sail wide, but look at that Baron just going to disappear. MVP not able to get in, and good positioning from Core JJ, and all of a sudden ADD is just going to disappear once again. Ian and Yandu going to get flashed on. The Shockwave does 0 damage. And, well, the rest of MVP in a ton of trouble. Pilot with nobody here as a front line. It just looks like Gen G may get the ace on top of that Baron.
The only thing that's not locked in, Valdez, is who is the MVP for the side of Gen G, because the victory is certainly here for game number 1. Gen G can only 2-0 and hope results go their way, but the noble Alistair is in the death chamber, and let's see if they can end the game on this push. The death timers, they're not that long just yet.
Yeah, flashing on in, saying, I'm going to take you out. And, well, Baron push is coming into effect as well. Everybody's still dead. Gen G, of course, not going to take the big risk. They say, we got to clear out some waves. We just got a massive amount of money from that last play. Let's go back and do it again.
Gonna watch the Baron play. 2 people are zoning. A killer instinct was used. Good job. You got to use your ultimate pilot. That felt good. They tried to kill QV after the ult was down, but QSS is on QV. He turns around. QV plays this beautifully, by the way. Watch the end of this play. Goes in, flash wallop onto Orianna, guarantees them the team fight victory. So excellent play from QV. Does end up going down into the death chamber a second time. The fly skips forward. Zoe cleans it up, and Gen G are now dealt a mortal wound to MVP.
Well, this is kind of what we expected from this game. No surprises here as the 4th Drake is picked up for Gen G. I also want to point out how good Exhaust is into MVP's composition. We saw what it does to Shockwaves from Orianna, but how about a Kennen that's trying to get into your backline, or even a Kai'Sa? If she killer instincts in, you just exhaust her right away. It's all the damage threats basically don't do damage if you can exhaust them on time, and well, for JJ on the Tom Kent, it feels like MVP just got outdrafted and outplayed here in game 1.
And the drop was fine from MVP, but they lost too much, and now they're going for the kill.
Okay, nice little impale onto Ambition.
There was a way to try to make this extend, but no value out of the Kennen. The mistake around 25 minutes, and now it's over.
Yeah, definitely is. Ian wants his one last time, the last flash in the pan, perhaps. QV may go down here as ADD. Well, not able to catch up as the QSS comes into effect from QV. Slow and steady push into the base, and well, Gen G just looking for the game here. Maxi wants that final engage, but look at the split. The Shockwave was used on the bottom side. Max is going to die on the top side, and absolutely nothing that MVP can do. That's going to do it, guys. Nexus goes down. Game 1 goes to Gen G.
31 minutes of Gen G playstyle. You don't need to go back and watch the VODs from the rest of the season. You can watch this and know how they play against teams they are confident against. Teams in the bottom 5. Gen G games very typically go this way when Ambition is in the lineup. Slow and steady wins the race. See who wins the MVP race for this one. The MVP race, one of the other interesting things with a lot of players around that 1,100 total that Khan has built up. The moment that Gen G got that big lead at 22 minutes, seemed like eventually they'd pick up the game victory. MVP, who have 2 matches to play this week, want to find any game wins they can, and a match win would be ideal. Very quickly in game 1, it was apparent that it would have to be game number 2.
Well, MVP looking a little bit distraught after that one, but I like how they all turn around and look at the coach, because it's all you can do after a game like that where they got completely pummeled. And that one, Gen G looking like they're just sitting down for lunch. Look at Fly, man. He's not even, he's not phased at all. It's like, that was a game, yes, but I didn't feel like I did much. Zoe, I feel, will definitely not be the MVP of Gen G.
No idea. We don't get a vote on this one, so I have no idea who will pick up the nod. Gen G, they're heading out of the booth, and it sounds like we're heading to a break really soon.
It looks like it. Gen G gonna take a little rest before we do get to game number 2, and so will we. So we'll join you guys in about 12 minutes for game number 2.